one of the core things you need to have to do AI, any kind of AI, is robust, reliable data, especially robust, reliable digital data. We are thinking a lot more about how we design the architecture itself to enable these AI applications. A big part of the Boundless Automation vision is really focused around data and making the availability of data to fuel these AI applications. What people think of as agents and agentic AI, we closed the loop. We didn't put in, AI-driven software largely that just gave advice. It took action, right? So APC and optimization figured out the plant needs to move this way, manufacturing needs to move that way. AI going to deliver the biggest transformation of all these past technologies, right?
Welcome to the Chief AI Officer podcast,
where AI meets leadership.
And here is your host, Sanjay Puri.
Welcome to the CAIO podcast, where we explore the journeys, insights, and challenges of chief AI officers and technology leaders driving enterprise AI transformation. I'm your host, Sanjay Puri, and today we have a distinguished guest who's been at the forefront of industrial automation and digital transformation for over 2 decades. Peter Zornio is the Chief Technology Officer at Emerson, a global technology and software company that provides automation solutions for customers in industrial and commercial markets. With over 19 years at Emerson and previously 21 years at Honeywell, Peter brings a wealth of experience in industrial automation, IoT, and emerging technologies. Today, we'll explore Peter's unique perspective on implementing AI in industrial settings, the challenges of digital transformation in manufacturing, and his vision for the future of intelligent automation. Let's dive in. Peter, welcome to the CIO podcast.
Great to be here, Sanjay. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Peter, we have a global audience. A lot of them happen to be your peers, aspiring peers, AI experts, AI techies, entrepreneurs. You've had an incredible 40-year career spanning chemical engineering, automation, and now leading, technology strategy at Emerson. So for our audience, if you can do 2 things, you can walk them through your journey and what really drew you to the intersection of industrial automation and emerging technologies like AI. And also for folks who don't know Emerson, because there are some people who might not, just give them a quick, idea of what Emerson does also, Peter.
Sure. I'll start with what Emerson does. So Emerson is a industrial automation company. So we have been around for approximately 130 years, but we've transformed ourselves dramatically in the last 4 or 5 years to really focus on automation. And we've done that by selling a number of different businesses that were not associated with the automation space, and then turning around and buying other businesses and filling in our overall automation stack with businesses that really have now made us, we believe, the largest and hopefully the best single source automation company in the world, with really the ability to provide a complete solution from sensors to optimization. In my case, as a chemical engineering student, I was also highly interested in computer science back when I was going to school. And frankly, automation turned out to be a great intersection of those 2 disciplines. So, with automation, we're pretty much applying computer science and automation and software technologies to the control of industrial chemical processes, right, where the chemical engineering part comes in, but also other manufacturing processes such as, pulp and paper, hybrid markets, such as semiconductor manufacturing, a number of different industrial markets. But for me, personally, it was a great combination of 2 disciplines that I enjoyed, chemical engineering and computer science, and it's still that way to this day, although 40 years seems like a long time now when I look back at it.
No, it is. It is. And obviously, not too many people associate chemical engineering with AI or automation. But as the CTO of Emerson, and since we're talking about AI, this is the Chief AI Officer's podcast. How do you define the role of AI, artificial intelligence, within your broader technology strategy, and how has it evolved, especially in the past 3-4 years, Peter?
Yeah, so I always like to say in automation, we were AI before AI was cool. So, one of the core things you need to have to do AI, any kind of AI, is robust, reliable data, especially robust, reliable digital data. And in the manufacturing world of chemical refining, energy, pulp and paper, life sciences processes, we started to digitize those processes really in the mid 70s was
Hmm.
when the first technology hit, and then continue to grow exponentially ever since then. And it was probably about the mid 80s that we figured out that with all this digital data, we could build models of how those processes already operated, not just from maybe the first principle physical and thermodynamic knowledge we had about how the processes worked, but from actual just data. So we started using AI principles way back then to do things like advanced process control and optimization, that expanded into using numerical type models, machine learning for diagnosing equipment and looking at equipment failures. And now that's just continued to snowball with the advent of the latest generative AI technologies and the ability to interject language and to be multimodal in terms of the types of data that you use in AI for us to provide even a greater scope of AI based applications for our customers that do even more for them. But certainly it's not an area that's new to us. Like I say, we always look back at some of the things we did early on, or we hear some people talk about doing some things today that we position almost as new, and we're like, nah, in the automation world, we've been doing that for quite a while. We've been running processes using models and AI based techniques for 20, 30 years already now, at least with numerical type data, not so much with all the language and multimodal type aspects we have in today's AI.
So obviously, been there, done that, especially in automation, Peter. One of the things that you talk about, and you've been pretty vocal, has been about Emerson's boundless automation vision. Can you explain to our audience what does this mean, and how does AI enable this next generation of industrial architecture?
Yeah, I would say that what is changed now is as we look forward in our automation architecture, we are thinking a lot more about how we design the architecture itself to enable these AI applications. A big part of the boundless automation vision is really focused around data and making the availability of data to fuel these AI applications much easier and transparent for customers, around making sure that data from various different parts of manufacturing processes, not just production itself, but things like reliability and sustainability data are available so that they can be combined together in AI driven applications for optimization, around having new sensor technology for new areas that, again, would feed AI applications in areas like reliability or energy consumption. Most plants today really don't have good data around what their actual energy consumption is. So AI is a very important part as we talk about our boundless automation architecture, because it really, in some ways, is the driving force that we're designing an architecture around in order to support being able to deploy, ever more advanced AI type models to improve optimization and also to improve autonomy in some of these facilities so that there are less people in what are sometimes dangerous processes.
So obviously, trying to figure out what, as you said, less people in dangerous processes, safety, and things like of that nature. Are there, and this is really a question that would be helpful to your peers, are there specific AI implementations that you are most proud of at Emerson? As you said, you've been doing this now for a long time, especially automation. And what kind of business impact have they delivered for your customers? You kind of hit upon some the preventive maintenance kind of stuff, but are there other specific implementations that you can talk about, Peter?
Yeah, the single most tangible set of benefits that I'm sure all of our customers would probably agree to that have been delivered over the last couple of decades all revolve around advanced process control and optimization. So building models and then using numerical techniques to optimize the actual throughput and production of a facility above and beyond just kind of operating it the way, it was originally designed and flow shaded to do, but actually using the operational data to build models that then enable you to improve the performance. Customers routinely document, multi-million dollar kind of production improvements off of that technology. You mentioned the predictive analytics around reliability. I'd say that's another very big area where we've seen a lot of benefits because, again, if you're able to predict a failure before it occurs or provide some measure of useful remaining life, that also saves manufacturers a ton of money in being able to do that. Now they're all hoping that the next generation that we can provide, that will use a lot of the latest, LLMs and generative technology will be on providing more of a comprehensive digital twin to provide operator guidance as operators are operating the facility so that the best practices that have been seen in the past are made available for anyone who's an operator today.
So lots of exciting applications, as you said, preventive maintenance, optimization, supply chain, uh, and others like digital twins. Uh, Peter, industrial environments for folks who might not be aware present some unique challenges for AI deployment, from edge computing to real-time processing requirements. What For our audience, what are some of the biggest technical hurdles you encountered, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Yeah, you mentioned one or two of them there, right, in your question. So I
Mhm.
guess I would start with this. Probably the single biggest thing we're aware of as we advance our AI solutions is customers in the manufacturing space are used to a certain level of determinism and explainability in the models that we use today. So even the ones that we use based on machine learning, we can kind of trace back through the statistical analysis that's delivered the model, why is this model saying what it's doing? Okay. Often we supplement some of those data driven models with first principle models like FMEA, if we have that, again, so that customers really want to know a why, not just, what is going on. Well, obviously, as we get more and more sophisticated with our models and with the latest generation, foundational models, that pure explainability and saying why is the model saying what it's saying is not as easy to do. And so it's going to be a while before customers are going to trust some of this very advanced level of technology if we can't provide the level of explainability that makes them comfortable. What we've seen happen is, today people still keep a human in the loop, right? That's the way that they provide a guide, an oversight and a guideline to make sure that the most advanced models aren't going somewhere where it's actually out of the question, because we all know these models hallucinate, right? They aren't able to necessarily discern valid data from invalid data, so that's a big part. The other part that you mentioned is the architecture itself. A lot of the applications we provide and the data that goes into them is considered proprietary, highly secure by the customers. They do not like the idea of this data going into, cloud-based foundation models that would be accessible by someone else. Okay, you can get a private instance, make sure that your knowledge isn't training, the general model, but even still, they many times don't like the idea of it just being cloud-based and of the potential latency that come along with that. So we spend a lot of time looking at models on the edge, on what are the best models for us to use there that also can enable the highest performance for us. So we have some very real kind of compute limitations and architecture challenges when we start thinking about using models that don't necessarily use the latest and greatest versions that are in the cloud. Then you also have to consider how you're going to carry forward that very domain specific training that you've added to that foundation model as you go into future versions of the model. So yeah, there are some very real and practical considerations as this technology evolves into the manufacturing space.
Yeah, you talked about data, you talked about, you know, there's also manufacturing has some of the largest amount of data, Peter. But obviously, in silos, as you said, a lot of these companies don't want that data. But without data, um, it's really hard to get the value from there. What can be done, or are you doing things to give a level of comfort and obviously level of safety and security, either it's to the suppliers or within the supply chain or within your organization, to make sure that the data is safe and secure, but you can also get the data to be more effective?
Yeah, so I've started to actually say there is no AI strategy in manufacturing without a data strategy, right? So we've seen a lot of people embark on AI programs or AI applications, and then find out that they spend most of their time actually straightening out the data that's going into the application, right? So we have, as part of our overall, boundless automation thrust, we've actually put a lot of focus on developing new solutions for data reconciliation and getting data in a common context, building what we call a data fabric for all of the operational data, to put the data that comes from different functions like production, reliability, safety, sustainability into a common context. Because when you go into a plant today, as you said, they have a lot of this data, but it's always in very specific application silos, different naming, different contexts. Often you'll find the same piece of data called three different things with three different values. So that having security in the data really is absolutely the first step in having confidence in the output that comes out of your AI applications. And so, we focused a lot, and we have a lot of R&D going on in that data space to make that so.
So a lot of effort towards that in terms of data security. The other thing that uh, appears to be a major focus, Peter, for you has been sustainability and energy transition. How is AI contributing towards Emerson's sustainability initiatives and helping some of their clients meet their decarbonization goals?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about sustainability, as in really three buckets: the things that we're doing ourselves at Emerson, the partnerships we have with other companies, and then what I think is the biggest part is, this is what we call sustainability by Emerson, meaning our technology, our products applied to our customers. Really, when you look at our manufacturing world, sustainability is another variable to optimize along with manufacturing output or reliability of the equipment. It's now just introduced yet another variable that manufacturers have to take into consideration for optimization along with those other two while maintaining safe operations. The good news is all the same technologies, optimization, AI driven technologies that we've used to optimize reliability and to optimize production can now be pointed directly at optimizing sustainability. The trick is doing all of those things in concert with each other to achieve the overall optimal for the manufacturing facility, where they're hitting sustainability goals, but not at the cost of production or reliability goals. But for sure, it's the same AI type technologies that get applied there on sustainability that we've applied for years now in optimizing production.
Great. So AI is definitely been a change agent there. The other thing within the industrial, landscape has been the continuous talk about the growth of IoT, which is, very, very critical that, hey, the convergence of IT and OT is going to come together. Do you think AI is going to be the one application that kind of really gives it the big push and becomes real? It is real, but in a big way, Peter.
Yeah, yes. The brief answer is yes, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, what happens, the way AI is going to help drive OT/IT convergence is that in order to do some of these applications we've talked about, you need to solve the data issues that I just described. That
Mm-hmm.
involves data both from OT and IT. You need supply chain data, customer data, you need knowledge of all those things. If you are willing and able to run applications in the cloud and to take advantage of the latest and greatest models in the cloud, you also need to be able then to be tied in with the IT organization to securely integrate that with the OT data. You
Mm-hmm.
know, digital transformation in general, powered by largely AI based applications, has really forced this OT IT integration issue, I'd say over the last 8 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the customers that have the most successful programs, have tackled that by putting joint teams together from both OT and IT.
Mm-hmm.
We used to use the expression OT knows the what, IT knows the how, meaning the OT folks know what needs to be accomplished, where the benefits could be, what you want to do. IT knows the technology
Mm-hmm.
and how to make the communications and data movement work to enable you to achieve whatever that goal is.
Yeah. So hopefully we're going to see, the real growth and the explosion of, as you said, IT and OT coming together. Just moving a little bit in terms of discussion to talent, which is a big focus for us, uh, is because there are people who are listening who want to think about what your peers or people who are looking to join you. How do you structure your AI and technology teams at Emerson? What, in your view, are critical roles, and how do you attract AI talent to come to Emerson or to an industrial automation company, Peter?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. We have a lot of debate and discussion, even amongst ourselves, about the two extremes of, do you have a centralized team of folks that just are very AI knowledgeable, know all the latest and greatest technologies and techniques and models that are going on, or is it better to instill kind of AI domain knowledge inside of product teams themselves that have knowledge about the product area and what it is they're trying to do, and then are able to bring AI, into the fold? And frankly, we have product lines that are set up one way and some that are set up another.
Mm-hmm.
I can't necessarily tell you for sure whether I feel one is right versus the other.
Mm.
But one of our businesses has a very strong centralized team of AI experts, led by a gentleman who truly is an expert in many different types of AI and AI technologies. And he and his team support all the other product development teams in as they are looking for, which AI technology should I use, or what would be the best way to do whatever it is they're trying to accomplish in their product area. In another one of our product businesses, they've taken the other approach where they've put in AI, or they've selected people in the area to get trained up and learn AI and figure out how that could be deployed inside of their product area. Both can work. I think a little of both is helpful. I mean, having a centralized team that has cutting edge know-how, but is working with people that have some domain expertise in the development area. Of course, across the board, everybody who writes software is learning how to use all the tools that are available now, all the Copilot tools and the like that enable them to write software more productively. That's happening across the board. So that we have as a general training program for everybody who touches software.
So you have training, especially. Is that also true for engineers and operators who might not have traditional AI backgrounds, Peter?
Not yet. I would say we haven't, like for our mechanical engineers that work on more mechanical products, we haven't yet gone and said, okay, you guys need to, pick up a fundamental level of AI know-how and training. Um, Many of those, even like our mechanical engineers, work with very AI driven modeling tools today. So they get to see they experience the customer perspective of using tools that are based around AI for doing things like stress analysis or flow analysis or all the tools that come out from people that have AI inside of them. But in terms of core training for AI, we've not yet said, okay, everybody who's in development needs to have some of that. I can see that day coming. I can see where we may go that way, but we haven't done that yet.
So, Peter, this is one of the things we want to do is democratize AI talent. We want people to look, whether it's a fresh grad coming out with an AI degree or someone experienced, they shouldn't be looking at just going to the 4 or 5 big foundation companies. We believe there's an opportunity for them at Emerson and many other companies like that. What is it that you look for our listeners when you're looking to hire someone or
Yeah,
someone is being hired in Emerson?
look, I think the foundation technology, the big guys that are building the foundation models and doing the cutting edge research, that's great. We need that. But the value is recognized by companies like ourselves that apply it. So AI, like any technology, is a technology tool. It's the problem in the application of the technology tool that delivers the value to the end user and the customer, no matter what industry it is. I mean, if we go back in time and we look at the introduction of the microprocessor, you might say, well, everybody should go work for a microprocessor company, right? For a semiconductor company. Well, no, the value came out of the people who delivered PCs and smartphones and digitized so many different things and put them into cars and right, that's where the value came out. So we're at a position now where yes, I think the attention is focused around the open AIs and the Anthropics and the folks that are really doing some of the core AI technology development, but the value is going to be for companies like ourselves that take that technology and apply it to delivering results. So we look for engineers and to hire people, obviously like any engineering company, that are naturally curious and are born engineers that want to stay up to date and learn AI as a new tool, to achieve when sometimes a better way to achieve results that have been achieved using different technologies in the past.
So good technology skills, ability to learn new skills. I think those are the kinds of things that uh, would be pretty helpful. Uh, Peter, talking about new skills, you also, I think, head up the venture arm for Emerson. In your view, what are some of the technologies that would be of interest for Emerson, or just that you believe can make a big difference to industrial automation for entrepreneurs amongst our audience who are listening here?
So we very on our website we kind of very plainly lay out some of the technology areas that we're looking for if people want to see more information. But I will say that right now, for sure, the absolute hottest area, no surprise to anyone sure on this call, is everybody doing some applied AI startup, right? It's like, hey, we're using AI to deliver X, Y, or Z. We're doing, which is great, okay? And in fact, one of the areas that we're looking for, we talked about data a lot. There's still a lot of work in actually when you go in to build a data fabric and sifting through all the different data repositories and applications that have data and figuring out what really is the same context called different things. There's a big opportunity to use AI to really speed up the integration and verification of data. So that's one of the AI driven kind of areas that we are looking at startups for. There's a lot of startups looking at AI to do control and optimization. Well, we have our own technology in that front, right? And we have a very large business already around that area. Sensors. We're always looking for, I mentioned that earlier, you can't put AI if you on things that you don't have data for. And in the manufacturing world, there's still a lot of data that needs to be gathered, physical kind of property data around reliability and acoustic data, and vision is a huge one. Okay, so we spend a lot of time looking at sensor type technologies that people have. But the VC world, the startup world right now, boy, I tell you, I don't have the exact data, but I'm going to tell you, 60-70% of the companies that fly by us are we're using AI to do X is what's happening up in the startup world now. And some of those we're interested in, some of them we look at and we say, no, we already do X with AI. So the trick is for them to come up with something new and unique, and a new unique way of doing it that we're not doing ourselves.
Well, interesting. You didn't mention the thing that the guests that come in, the number one thing, the flavor of the month, the year, agents. You didn't mention that.
Oh,
Peter. You're the first person on this podcast that hasn't used the A word. So, are you folks using it? Is that something you're looking at?
yeah, you know why I don't use the A word,
Please.
right? And I don't use the term agentic so much,
Hmm.
is because in our world, we always developed what people think of as agents and agentic AI. We closed
Yeah.
the loop. We didn't
Hmm.
put in, AI driven software largely that just gave advice. It took action, right? So APC and optimization figured out the plant needs to move this way, manufacturing needs to move that way, and it started to pump, it moved a valve, it automatically took some kind of action to make
Hmm.
things going. So for us, AI was never about like, well, give me some advice, okay, or today's chat GPT kind of approach, right? With
Hmm.
For us, AI has always been about closing the loop and actually taking action on whatever was coming out of the AI, which is why the conservatism around the explainability, right?
Hmm.
Of the more modern techniques, because everybody's thinking about this as okay, well, the AI is going to, like a self-driving car, the AI is going to take action in the plant, right?
Hmm.
And before we let it take action, we need to be convinced that it's trustworthy.
So, trust, explainability is obviously a big stuff and important for you. How about cybersecurity, which is in industrial environments, Peter? It's a pretty crucial. How do you ensure your systems maintain the security and the trust for, especially you're dealing with critical infrastructure in many ways?
Yeah, so our systems go on a lot of critical infrastructure facilities. We take cybersecurity very, very seriously. We are continuously getting certified to the various industrial standards around having cybersecure solutions. As we look about AI, we think of AI as a set of software applications that needs to fit into the cybersecurity framework that we have already for the family of applications that we have that take action and do control inside of a manufacturing facility. So the AI itself needs to be fit into the same kind of security criterion and the architecture, the network, the secure networking architecture and secure data architecture that we already have established for other automation type things. There's a big international standard coming out right now on cybersecurity, the CRA Cyber Resilience Act, driven by the Europeans, that's making that even more acutely aware. Now, it's not looking at AI from the point of view of its trustworthiness of output as much as it is just about the actual compute and data architecture that the AI is in, and is that robust and secure the same way other software applications in there are.
Well, that's great to know. Peter, you just talked about the standards. You've been involved in other industry standards like NAMUR. How important is industry collaboration in developing AI standards, whether it's for industrial automation or even beyond?
Yeah, I think we got to be careful that, as the broader debate around AI legislation and AI restriction comes into play, that we don't, hamper innovation, but at the same time, we need to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, and we've said a couple of times now, about the trustworthiness and dependability of the applications. The customers, though, will be the ones to make the final call on that. I'm more concerned, I think we watch what happens more around what's going to happen around the legality of AI, right? Intellectual property rights, who owns, something that an AI actually develops or invents, what is going to be patentable, what isn't patentable. I mean, that's an area where the industries really do need to work together. I mean, you go to a country like Germany, and we're very global. We work all over the world, and you have to vet before you do another higher level of automation. You have to vet what you're going to do with the Works Council, right? So what's the impact going to be on societal, the work society of the company you're talking about there is another area that we're waiting to see how those things evolved. And that's where I think our industry can work together, and standards could be important in getting everybody to agree on a common direction.
So, have standards, especially for companies who are working globally, so that they're not stumbling across these things. Peter, finally, for other chief AI officers who are listening to you, or aspiring chief AI officers, you had such a great run, and these are folks could be in industrial automation or others. What would be your one or two pieces of advice to them as they're embarking on this journey that you've been on now for some time?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned this before, and it's almost trite advice, but it's still very true. New technologies come along all the time. They're often very big and potentially game changing, like some of the latest AI developments. But you always got to keep yourself focused on what are the business goals that the customer is trying to achieve. What are you going to deliver in terms of actual value? How are you going to make somebody's life easier? How are they going to quantify, what the value is that you've delivered? And we, as we look at applications and talk to our customers, it always comes back to that, right? It always comes back to anytime we apply a new technology, it's don't get excited about just the technology. Make sure that you're starting with what the business problem is and where the value is going to be. AI, there's been so much hype around AI right now that we do have some customers that I feel like are coming to us like, tell us what you're doing with AI. And then I will ask them like, well, what do you want us to do? What is it what problems are you trying to solve, right? And then we go through what problems we think can be solved. Like, oh yeah, that's what we want. We want that. But eventually that always fades because it always comes back to what are you going to deliver, right? What are you going to deliver that can be quantified, especially when you're dealing with B2B, with manufacturing companies like we do. The consumer world can be more emotionally driven, right? Where people will make decisions more on just their preferences. But in the business world, the B2B world, it always comes back to what are you going to deliver in terms of business value. So that's something, we always do. I would say on a personal basis, one of the things that I've tried to do through my entire career is no matter where I go, what part of Emerson I go into, whatever, I'm curious. I want to know what they're doing. And I'll tell you another little thing. I always have my eyes open for talent, right? So you got to be in a leadership position. You got to be constantly aware and looking for talent. And if somebody really impresses you in, our facility in Poland or whatever, man, I remember their name. And then when something comes up later, it's like, let me see what this person's doing, and really just always be looking for talent. Because talent in the end is what differentiates in the world of engineering and technology. I'm absolutely convinced of that. Talent combined with domain expertise is the name of the game.
Wow, fantastic advice. On the business side, look at solving the business problem. On the personal side, look for talent, domain expertise. I think those are great piece of advice. Now, you said a couple of things, so I'm tempted to slip just one or two things in there because you said a few things that kind of triggered me and said, you said this is another technology. Peter, is this just another technology or is this truly transformational? I mean, yes, cloud, we had, you know, different other thing. Is this just another technology?
I think there have been past technologies that were transformational. I mean, if you look
Like,
at, like for instance, if you look at the combination
Mhm.
of wireless technologies with the internet, with digital semiconductor technology, and what that has done, with these incredible pocket computers we all carry around that we call a phone
Mhm.
that's connected all around. I mean, that's transformational in terms of
Yeah.
how everybody does their work, how they does their
Mhm.
job. Sometimes it's a pain because you can never get away from work anymore, right? We're always connected now.
On.
That
Yeah.
was a transformational technology that happened.
Yeah.
I think the question is, I would rephrase your question as, is AI going to deliver the biggest transformation of all these past technologies, right? And in terms of the number of jobs that it touches, the number of lives it touches, that's very possible. I mean, as we look down the road to the eventual evolution, in the manufacturing world, I talked a lot about how we've applied it already for a while, and we see like this is a continual evolution. We'll keep doing more, but manufacturing will still be manufacturing. People will still need things, right? That industry will still exist. We might be able to make it that much more efficient and profitable for the people that do it. There are definitely job categories, though, that the latest advancements, if you're in a job where your job is around words, you're in the legal profession, you're writing code, you're in the insurance company writing contracts, yeah, your job is going to be very deeply touched. Maybe not in a positive manner from your perspective by the latest advancements in what's happened in AI. So it's a technology. It will enable transformations. The question is, will it be the biggest one that we've seen yet?
Wow, you've given me a great question for my future guest. Will it be the biggest transformational technology yet? That's something I'm going to ask. I had a bunch of other questions, but I don't want to take you. I think we'll have you come back again. But for our guests who are fond of short form answers, we're going to do just a very brief, quick lightning round of questions. One word answers from you, Peter. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, Peter. Edge AI or cloud AI? Pick one.
For us, edge.
Digital twin or physical testing?
Digital twin.
Supervised learning or unsupervised learning?
Depends, but I'll say supervised.
Okay. Open source or proprietary AI platforms?
Open source for also because of the number of places in the world we need to serve.
Okay. Final one for you. On-prem or cloud?
Our customers right now say on-prem.
On-prem. All right. That was pretty good, Peter. It's been really fascinating conversation. As I said, I need to get you back here because I have about six other questions which are right here. But your insights into the practical application of AI in the industrial settings, but breaking down data silos to enabling sustainable operations really provides invaluable lessons for our community of AI leaders and enthusiasts. But what strikes me most, Peter, about your approach is the emphasis that you focus on solving real business problems than just deploying AI for its AI's sake. And so, for our listeners, who are aspiring CIOs or AI leaders in traditional industries, Peter's journey truly demonstrates the importance of deep domain expertise combined with strategic technology vision. Peter, thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with our CIO community and for our listeners who are interested in learning more about Emerson's automation technologies and AI initiatives, you can follow Peter on LinkedIn and visit emerson.com. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in to the CIO podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your networks. We are building a community of AI leaders, and conversations like this help us learn from each other's experiences. Until next time, this is the CIO podcast. Peter, thank you so much. This was fabulous. We need to get you back. A lot to learn from you.
Okay, well, thanks very much for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts.
Thank you.